with you what I learned, and most importantly, there's two things. I had two open questions from the last time we had a live with my partner Brian about how do we create a clone of ourselves, right? And specifically, the problem I was trying to solve, let me kind of share with you, right? So, if you ask ChatGPT, what's the best podcast to learn about affordable housing investments, you will get our podcast. But we've been creating a clone ourselves that allows us to essentially figure out, okay, well, how do I help someone and meet them where they are? Well, I need to be able to ask and answer questions in whatever medium that they have decided to pose that question. That question can either be written on a Reddit forum, that question can also be submitted to me. Now, the interesting part about this and how you create it to sound like you is that you need to give it enough content. Now, what I was struggling with was like, okay, do I put the way I talk specifically in how my database is created? Like, do I write in the chunks that has all the relevant information? And I decided to ask one of my school communities led by Nate Herrick about N8N about how he's doing it and where he suggested. I either thought it could be in the database itself or it's in the system message or also known as your prompt. And he actually suggested, hey, for any time you have a hot take, like for example, if you always tell people to not invest in anywhere with fire risk, like California, or with hurricane risk or flood risk, like in flood zones, or in Florida because of wind risk, because of how high insurance premiums are going up, you have to set those hot takes aside in your system message or in your prompt so that it understands that that is your stance on that topic specifically. So it does not stray from that. Just like how I teach you for that. And AI agent is this fancy buzzword. I just consider it as your intern, right? The 10-80-10 framework. If you ever had worked with an intern on your team or hired an intern from your team, right? They might have had some college education. They might have that academic knowledge. But when you give them a task, you still have to give them some direction. You had to be that upfront 10% of work to train them to think about how do you actually go through that entire process. Then they would do the next 80% of the work, right? Whether that's research, drafting something for you, consolidating a project together, right? All that stuff matters. But then you have to come in for the last 10% and kind of give it feedback and give them some edits, right? Especially if they're writing something for you. However, how do you teach that to do it consistently every single time to a different agent? Well, you need to be able to communicate your writing style. So there's two ways. I mean, obviously, you could probably use transcripts and have ChatGPT coming up with it, or you can have Gemini come up with it. One way you can do it is, well, you can use Poppy AI, where you can choose some of the videos where you are speaking, put it into sort of a group window on Poppy, and then ask it to generate the communication style that allows you to figure out how do you train an AI agent to talk like you? How do you train an intern to write like you and talk like you, etc.? All that stuff is important. So now that I've realized what is the best way to go about it, right? Because I wanted a straightforward answer. I didn't want to beat around, test different things. I wanted an answer right away. Hey, how would you do this? Well, this is the way we would do it. So from that perspective, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to look for probably 3 or 4 videos that I think will be really impactful. And I'm going to pick those videos. So some of them are my underwriting videos, right? So I would probably pick, especially when I talk about, hey, how do I analyze a deal? I'm going to pick one video on how I analyze deals. So it has a good understanding or a good way to write about how I communicate during an underwriting video. Then there is going to be another video. And when was the last time I had a really good one that people did really well? I had another one that, oh, this one had 8,000 views. That was kind of crazy. So I'm going to do this video. 100x outlier? That's crazy. Okay. So this was a great one, right? So this allowed me to be able to explain to someone how I was interpreting that. So I thought this was a pretty good video that I'm going to use because for some reason people really enjoyed this one. Whether that's news, etc., it doesn't matter. But a lot of people really enjoyed that video and people enjoyed how I explained that process. Then I'm going to pick cues. So funny. Try to use these things. See, this is a good example of how to not optimize for YouTube when you use the same picture in all your thumbnails. Doesn't work. I've learned so much about content creation just by stumbling and being super cringy about it. All right, so now I got another good one for estimates, so how to find comparable values. So these were all good. Like these were back when I was just wow, I was analyzing deals every single day. I can't believe I'm like 740 something. It's crazy. All right. So I got two videos on how I want to explain. I'm just going to keep it short and see how it goes. But I'm also going to pick two videos that I came up with really, really good questions. So some of my top podcasts that have generated the most interest. Oh, this one's really good. So I'm going to tell them like how from the way I ask questions and do follow up questions, look at this one. That's a good one. There's another one I did with Patrick. Let me see. I'll show you this. This is also a big outlier. Boom, this one, 9,300 views. So this was a great podcast on how to invest in affordable housing. So I want them to look at, hey, look at the quality of the questions that I had here and use that towards my logic and my line of question and the depth at which I ask questions. So I picked my four videos. Two is in interview style. Two are specifically on how I analyze deals and just how I talk in general and my approach of explaining it. So I'll probably find a few more of the analysis ones just so that people understand how do I walk someone through that entire process and bring it all together. It's probably another really long one that I've done. I gotta find a really long one. So I got my videos now. So the next step that I'm gonna do is now that I have all my videos, I will probably show you all tomorrow using Poppy AI how I'm gonna come up with, just like how Nate did in this video, on how to come up with a prompt that is able to mimic the way you talk, mimic your personality, but not be full exact, right? But at the very minimum, it can start writing like you like the way you talk. And that's what's most important because you know when something's written by ChatGPT. You really can. It's like the same generic type of tone, same generic type of vibe. You can just kind of tell. If you ever been on LinkedIn and you've seen these posts where the bullet list starts with like three emojis, all ChatGPT. Like no one types like that anymore. It just doesn't. It just looks like ChatGPT. Or you see those really long M dashes, it just looks like ChatGPT. So when I see those clues, I go off. Like I don't want to read the opinion by a machine. I want to read the opinion by a human because I want to feel connected to that person. And I truly believe that humans want to feel connected to one another because that's how you collectively move towards a solution together. All right. Hopefully, this was helpful, everybody. My goal here is to show you every single day what I'm doing. And I think every one of you can create a clone of yourself. Like, just imagine how much you could get done if there were two of you, or even just someone that was like the 70% version of you. Because look, if you have two people that are the 70% version of you, that equals 140%. And you can have two of those, which is two AI agents. So again, please learn this technology. Please learn how to duplicate yourself. Please learn how to clone yourself. Because sometimes we always talk about how we have no time. But this is probably one of the best mechanisms, the best lever that you can pull. And one of those steps in that process is learning how to train it to talk and write like you. And that's what we covered today. All right, hopefully this was helpful, everybody. I decided to ask a question on behalf of you. I pay $9 a month to be in this community so I can ask these direct questions so that you don't have to. All right. Have an amazing day, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow for tomorrow's live. Have a good one, everybody. It's late, but hey, we're staying consistent. Have a good one.